bem-vindos! So, one of the trickiest things that most people learning Portuguese struggle with is knowing when to use the imperfect past, Pretérito Imperfeito, and the perfect past, the Pretérito Perfeito Simples. So, we'll be looking at that today. Pretérito Perfeito Simples, Pretérito Imperfeito. We spoke about this before, but in this video we will just highlight the differences. So, Pretérito Perfeito Simples, the simple past, gives the idea of a one-off situation. Finished, concluded, okay? It's the perfect past. It's been concluded in the past. Visited or have visited, for example. Eu visitei Portugal em julho. I visited Portugal in July. Ontem fomos jantar fora. Yesterday we went out for dinner. The imperfect past. 6 or 7 situations mentioned here. Habitual actions in the past. The equivalent of used to. Eu costumava ir a pé para o trabalho. Or eu ia a pé para o trabalho. I used to go or I used to walk to work. A durative and continuous action. That means a lasting action in the past or state. Naquele tempo não havia água canalizada. At that time, there was no tap water, no running water. In Portuguese, literally is piped water. Descriptions of anything or anyone in the past. Okay, in this case, something, a comida, the food. A comida estava muito boa. The food was very good. Use the imperfect. When talking about age and time, time as in hours, clock. Okay, talk about age and time, the verb that goes with it needs to be in the imperfect. And the verbs will generally these two, ser and ter. Irregular forms in the imperfect, era and tinha. Nessa época, eu tinha 20 anos. At that time, I was 20 years old. Another situation, action that was happening when another interrupted it. Estávamos a comer quando a campainha tocou. We were eating when the bell rang. Okay, we were eating and the bell rang. When actions occur simultaneously, use enquanto. So, while, enquanto dormias, ou enquanto estavas a dormir, eu limpei a casa. While you were sleeping, I cleaned the house. Or, enquanto estava a comer, ou enquanto comia, estava tudo bem. As if we're talking about a child, maybe, or a toddler, or a baby, while he was eating, everything was fine. Now it's finished, he's throwing a tantrum or something. Okay, so while he was eating, he was fine. Last situation is when in English it's the equivalent of conditional. So polite way of asking or a polite way of expressing a wish or a preference. Podia dizer-me onde fica o supermercado mais próximo, se faz favor. That was fast, wasn't it? Podia dizer-me onde fica o supermercado mais próximo, se faz favor. Could you tell me where the nearby or the closest supermarket is, please? Those are the main differences, but I do want to highlight examples of when you could use both. But there's a subtle difference, okay, when you use one and when you use the other. And when I translate it into English, I think that's the same. I think the difference between the English phrases is the same difference between the Portuguese ones. Let's look into it. Nós passávamos fome, as opposed to nós passamos fome. So, nós passávamos fome, we used to go hungry. That sounds like a continuous, reoccurring event. As opposed to nós passamos fome, we went hungry. That was perhaps a one-off situation or for a single period of time. Another one, no ano passado, ia ao cinema todas as semanas. As opposed to no ano passado, fui ao cinema todas as semanas. So, no ano passado, ia ao cinema todas as semanas. Last year, I used to go or would go to cinema every week. It sounds like a habit this person had. It was a habitual action. And then the other one, you could probably say the same. No ano passado, fui ao cinema todas as semanas. Last year, I went to cinema every week. To me, it doesn't really sound like a habit. Okay, it just sounds like it just so happened that way. It worked out that way, that maybe you got invited and they just happened to go every week. So that clip that you've just seen is actually part of our members-only program called The Journey. And on there, we cover both aspects of the language, or both tenses, separately and in a more comprehensive way, by means of a grammar lesson, such as the one you've just seen, and by means of video sketches and quizzes to consolidate what you learn. If you want to know more about this program called The Journey, check this out.
És a Carla, filha do Felipe, da Almeida.
Conhecia meu pai?
Posso dizer que era um bom homem.
Pois, talvez na sua opinião, mas um homem que abandona a filha e a mulher, para mim, na minha opinião, não pode ser um bom homem. O seu pai deixou-lhe uma herança. Hoje à noite, às 9 horas, terão um carro à vossa porta. Entrem nele se quiserem obter mais informações.
Sua herança é muito maior do que vocês imaginam.
Duvido. Ele nunca teve um tostão enquanto vive.
Ele apenas deixou isto.
E é suposto fazermos o quê com isto?
Sigam o símbolo.
Trabalho, meu caro Watson. So what do you think of that? But you might be wondering, what does that have to do with learning a language? You see, every single dialogue has been meticulously written to highlight an aspect of the language. I will then explain this element of the language in a video lesson. Possessive determiners or pronouns. There are over 70 of these that cover European Portuguese pronunciation and grammar. Reflexive verbs. The letter S. Particípio passado. Pretérito imperfeito. Ser ou estar. Por or para. Futuro imperfeito. Adjectives. Haver. Pretérito mais que perfeito. Composto do conjuntivo. Don't worry about this one just yet. It's a little further down in your journey. Anyway, we try to make these as interesting as possible. So with a Scottish accent, I'm assuming it will be de. And there are no exceptions. Every verb follows this pattern. Now that's only the start. We prepared extra video sketches to further expose and help you practice that particular component of the language.
Muito boa tarde. Seja bem-vindo ao Hotel Lisboa Viva. Faça favor.
Olhos lá! Fresquinho!
Okay. Now every one of these is followed by an explanation of the dialogue in both Portuguese and English. And there's more. Over 1,500 exercises, memorized vocabulary packs for every lesson, tailored homework, cultural videos, forums accessed by only those learning European Portuguese, a toolbox with animated video tips and tricks, and a few more things we have neither time nor space to mention here. So, are you ready to start your journey into European Portuguese fluency? Then go to portuguesewithcarla.com or ptwithcarla.com/start. Até já!